Welcome, everybody, to the Redeemed Legion podcast. This is episode 9. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the live event we did last night in Thrall, Texas. It was awesome. We had a great turnout. We had about 30 guys that showed up. It was a great discussion. We had a guest speaker. We're going to get into that tonight and just talk about everything that happened last night. And some guys were really moved. So it was awesome. So we're going to get into that. Guys, stay tuned.
Aiden Wilson Tozer once said, "The most critical need of the church at this moment is men, bold men, free men. The church must seek in prayer and much humility the coming again of men made of the stuff of which prophets and martyrs are made." This is the Redeemed Legion Podcast. On this podcast, we dive deep into the intersection of faith, masculinity, and modern-day life, exploring biblical principles and how they apply to the changes men face today. And we're not just here to talk at you. We want it to feel like a real conversation among friends. Here to encourage and equip men to live out their faith in a world that often presents conflicting ideas of manhood. Welcome to the Redeemed Legion Podcast. And now your hosts, Drew, Brendan, and Pete.
So last night we have this live event. It's our second one ever. We are not great at marketing as the Redeemed Legion. We have some guys that follow our stuff but as far as doing something locally, it's tough. And we do our best to get the word out, through our churches and through work and just random people we meet. We just try to get guys there to give guys an opportunity to be with like-minded guys and talk about God, talk about how we're living for God, and talk about our struggles and things like that. And it was the first time we had a guest speaker at a live event, and he was awesome. So what'd you guys think about the event last night?
Yeah, I thought it went great. We saw a lot of the same faces from the first event, but we saw some new faces too. So that was really cool. I think we had this personally, I had this hope that, man, it was just going to be, 200 dudes there. I think that's what we did invite. And 20 some odd showed up. Like you said, close to 30 dudes. And afterward, one of the guys told me, he's like, man, 10% is great. Like, yeah, second event, you got 10% showing up. But even like we always talk about, even if just one of those guys is reached, man, for Christ. And I think more than one was reached, but even if just one, then it's worth it.
Yeah, we said that a couple times during the event. We reiterated a statement that we've made a handful of times, that if everything that we do with Redeemed Legion ends up impacting like one life, that's incredible. And if we can help one guy get saved and turn his life around, and I don't know that we helped anybody like immediately get saved in the moment, but at least 4 different guys came up to me either during or after and was like, dude, this was exactly what I needed, and they said things like that the testimony from Trey was written for them. It was right up their alley. They all took away different things from it. It was pretty incredible to see and to be a part of. God was clearly moving.
Yeah, I thought it was super cool how, beforehand, the three of us talked to Trey, and he made a comment before we started the event that normally when he goes and speaks in places, he makes a bunch of notes, and he's kind of dialed in. He's got things like leveled out. He knows exactly what he's going to go through, and he just had this thing last night. It was kind of our like down and dirty style, just being real.
Yeah.
He said he didn't have a lot of notes, and he was gonna go with the flow and see what God had for him last night. And he delivered his speech, his message, and it was awesome. It affected guys.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool.
I think a highlight for anybody that wasn't at the event last night that we ran, a highlight of what Trey said that really stood out to me was that he was involved in church for years, and not only involved, but I think he said was he an elder? Was that what he
Yeah.
Yeah,
said?
he did
So
say
he was
that.
an elder for some number of years at his church, and then he said he wasn't saved yet. Like he hadn't actually fully surrendered and found his way to God, even though he was in that position. That was just like a startling thing for me. One, to hear someone say it out loud, and also two, like I feel like it like hit me in the heart. A lot of the stuff we've been talking about personally, like it stood out to me very much.
Yeah, and I can relate to that, man. I got, when I was born, I got sprinkled or whatever at the church. When I was
Yeah.
18, I got baptized, and man, and now I'm almost 36 years old, and I don't feel like I was actually saved until several years ago.
Yeah.
So, I can definitely relate to that. And going back to what Brendan was saying about, he didn't have a bunch of notes and things like that. I want to point out to anybody listening that like there's a difference in winging it and being led and following the Holy Spirit. Trey was definitely in the Holy Spirit last night. The Spirit was leading him. And just for those listening, if you don't know um, who Trey Felton is, he owns a local meat market and barbecue business, awesome here in Central Texas. Um, and he just has an amazing testimony of sobriety and salvation and knowing God on a deeper level. Like Pete said, after living a life like probably a lot of other Americans in the Bible Belt, you know,
Yeah.
super
Absolutely.
real, super raw.
Yeah, it was really good. And, again, about that point, like with what Pete was saying about Trey being being an elder in the church for years and not being saved. We got to talking later in the night about hypocrisy. And that's a subject that a lot of people have gripes with Christianity and with the institutionalized church as a whole. And people don't talk about it a lot. Like church groups don't talk about it a lot, but it's a problem that a lot of people have with the church, a lot of guys in particular. And it was really cool to hear guys that are like small business owners and whatever in life just opening up about that hypocrisy, right? We're all hypocrites, but living your life by the word and allowing God to work in your life is really powerful. And it was cool for me to hear those dudes opening up about that stuff and just being real and raw about it, like you said, Drew.
Yeah. Somebody said a quote last night when we were talking that I don't remember exactly what it was, but basically they said that like the number one creator of atheists is Christians. And in that context of hypocrisy, and there were some stories shared about people, either their own experiences or things that they were aware of, right, where they saw that hypocrisy lead people away from the faith. And I think as men, to talk about our mission as Redeemed Legion, we're pushing men to act like men and biblical men because we want to fight that hypocrisy. What do
Yeah,
you guys think about?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Talking about the to get deeper into that, like the hypocrisy and everything, it's making me think about the level of guys that we have show up to these things, all the way from unsure about their faith, unsure about God, all the way to guys that have been, walking in Christ for 30, 40 years. And it's like a melting pot, it's awesome. We, for those that weren't there, we start out the night with just kind of networking, talking. We feed some dudes, and then we get into some worship, and then we get into some prayer, and then a message is delivered, and then we break up into the groups, and we break up in groups and talk about things, and we have some general discussion questions that kind of get us going. But man, to see how those questions flow into other things organically,
Yeah.
about what's on guys' hearts, and guys that you would never expect to be vulnerable, or admit that they are a hypocrite, or that they're struggling with lust or anger or greed. Guys just start opening up, and I definitely felt like, God was in that place and touching the hearts of guys. Um, it was just, again, the word I think of is, it was raw and real.
Yeah. And that's, the three of us have talked about since the beginning of this, providing a place for guys to come who are at any stage of their walk in faith. Just like you said, Drew, like the guys that are, you know, have it dialed in and all that, to guys who are unbelievers or unsure or whatever. Like, all are welcome. Come on. Let's talk about it. Be around godly men and figure it out. And I agree. I thought it was really cool to see guys in all of those stages show up. Like, that's the thing. They made that decision and they came, and whether they were had a life-changing experience last night, or they just came in and were around other dudes who were trying to figure it out and talking about God. I mean, that's what it's all about. Just getting guys exposed to the word and seeing other guys that are walking with Jesus.
Yeah. I think it's valid to point out too that it's one thing to walk into church, but it's very different as men to go to a men's group, a men's ministry of any kind, whatever that looks like. I think some of my most impactful growth spiritually has been in men's groups that I've been a part of. I've been a part of small groups. I've been a part of a bunch of different churches. I've gone to big things and little things and big events and little events. And like the most impactful thing is these sort of small, tight knit, like we said, right? Like just raw and real guys really opening up and sharing life experience. And because of that cross section of guys that we have, you have guys that are just out of high school and guys that are, late in life, and the ability to sort of morph over knowledge from one another is impressive and really cool to be a part of.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it was cool. I know one guy in particular that was there last night that um, we keep saying the word share and open up and vulnerable and things like that. And, guys need to know that when you get around other guys, it's not that you have to be the guy that's doing all the talking and sharing your life story. It doesn't necessarily mean that, right? It's how God strikes you in that moment. And I know one guy in particular who was at that event last night who didn't say a word, and that's okay. But he was moved. He was struck. And that's God moving, right? God moves in all different kinds of ways in different people. And that was really cool for me to see that guy and the effect that it had on him last night.
Yeah, I think every guy there felt something, right? And going back to what Pete mentioned about, um, I think guys are uncomfortable, right? Already, like going to church or big crowds or whatever it may be. So going to something on a Wednesday night, potentially with a bunch of dudes you don't know, you're not sure exactly what's going to take place. Um, man, it's just taking that first step, right? Like we said, we invited 200, around 200 guys, and close to 30 show up, right? And if I were not a part of the Redeemed Legion and I were invited to that several years ago, I don't know if I would have showed up.
Yeah.
But what would I have been doing instead? Maybe sitting on the couch watching TV or something like that. Um, and it's legit, man. Like you we have to lead by example, and not saying that those guys that didn't show, they might have had a good reason, who knows, but just in our daily lives, showing up and being able to be vulnerable like that and take that first step and go into an uncomfortable situation, whether it be church or some kind of men's ministry event or something like that. um you mentioned somebody that didn't even say a word. We had guys like that in our group. For those listening, Brennan and Pete ditched me. They were in one group and I was in a group by myself.
We went to the 45 group. I'm sorry.
That's
We
right.
weren't for the 9mm.
I was a 9mm guy. Um,
To be
and
clear, I'm a millimeter guy.
yeah, and we, I'm hearing y'all's group over there talk, and I'm hearing some familiar loud voices, and I'm like, guys that walk in conviction all the time. And I know they're going to share some good stuff. I know that they're not going to be afraid to speak. And our group starts out kind of meek, kind of sheepish, right? And man, it was just like the fuse was lit, right? And next thing you know, only a few guys share, but then one guy opens up, man, and it's just deep, it's real. And next thing you know, you got, I don't know, 12 dudes standing up. We got our hands on this guy, man. We're just praying over him, praying over his life and his family. And it was amazing. It was amazing, man. Nothing happens by coincidence. Nothing happens by accident. And I believe, that guy showed up last night so that he could have brothers pray over him and speak life into him. And there's that accountability, man. Accountability that all men need.
Yeah, that's a big deal, and I think that's a big thing with guys in our society today, thinking they can do it on their own, and we've all been there. I certainly have, and it's hard, man. I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's impossible. Like doing it on your own, just trying to find your way through this world, and it's really beneficial in your walk in faith to be around other godly men. And
It's essential.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to provide, it in a way that guys are comfortable, and I think it's working. The stuff we're doing, the live events, I mean, obviously it's working. It's showing, right? Guys are showing up to these things and getting stuff out of it, getting real stuff out of it. And that's a big deal. And like, if it's, we invited 200 people, we wanted 1,000 people to come, whatever, 30 guys show up. That's great. That's great. Because, it's affecting people. God is moving at these events, and that's what's important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One thing I want to highlight is we had a guy in our group mention, the topic of like spiritual warfare, that kind of stuff came up, and we had a guy who's been walking the walk a long time, and he mentioned, anytime you go into any kind of ministry, you're going to have a target on your back. You're going to have, just a target on your back. And man, being a Christian is not easy. It is not warm and fuzzy, right? And I think a lot of people that are unfamiliar with like a ministry event or something like that, or what you see in a lot of the modern day churches is just, hands raised, singing, nice, warm worship. And there's not a lot of that conviction, or there's not a lot of some of the dirty stuff is left out, right? But in real life, man, it's hard. It's hard to be a man following Christ in today's world. And there's something about being in a room with a bunch of guys who are living that conviction and sharing those struggles that makes it feel a little bit easier to stay on path.
Yeah, I think a big takeaway that I get every time that I've been to a men's ministry event like this, especially one of our Redeemed Legion events, is that you're not alone. It's so easy to think that like you're the only one struggling with whatever, if whatever it is, alcohol, pornography, lust, dealing with stuff with your family, not getting in the word, not surrendering, whatever the things are. And like, man, you're not alone. It's empowering, not in a way that should be taken as like, hey, this is okay and I can act like this, but that like I am not the only person struggling with this. And you can find encouragement and accountability with like-minded godly men. Like that's a critical value add of going to an event like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing we talked about doing outside of our events and podcasts, is starting a Bible study with guys through like the Bible app, and just opening it up and letting guys join if they wish to. And you go through a devotional, and there's scripture to support the devotional, and then at the end there's a moment where you can, like the one that we just finished, you can kind of journal your thoughts and what you took away from the lesson, man. um, the technology that we have today, it's so hard to make any kind of excuse that makes any sense to not be in community or in the word. So just throwing that out there. If you guys see something posted from us, maybe we'll try to get just some huge study going.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think we're definitely going to do that. So we'll post about that in the near future. We'll use probably the Bible app, and it'll be something that everybody that's following us can follow along with. And we actually have a handful of people that have popped into the live. So I just want to let you know, if everybody that's listening, we're the Redeemed Legion. We're a men's ministry, and we put on a live event yesterday that we're just kind of recapping and decompressing from and sharing some of our takeaways from it. Should follow us on the socials everywhere. We're on TikTok primarily. We also do YouTube, and our podcast is everywhere. This will get converted to a podcast, and you'll be able to re-listen if you want to hear the whole thing. But sorry for the thing. I just want to get that out.
No,
Absolutely.
that's good. And yeah, just encourage you guys to reach out to us. We are accessible. We don't have it all figured out, but we're trying really hard to guide other men in their walk, in their faith journey. And we're here. The door is open. So if you're struggling with something, reach out to us. That's what we're here for. That's what we're doing.
I thought it might be good to go over some that we have 3 core tenets at the Redeemed Legion that we have written down when we first started this thing, and just share kind of what it is that we stand for. There are Bible verses that go along with each of these things, but the first one is that this world is broken. Romans 3:23. If somebody has their Bible close, we can read them if you all want to, you guys would like. But this world is broken. Men are biblically charged to lead their families. And we reference Genesis 18:19 for that. And then men need Jesus to lead properly and effectively. And we reference John 15:5 for that. And then also there's a very famous men's ministry verse, which is the iron sharpens iron. And so in our minds, getting men together, having some interesting content that is inviting that guys want to listen to and learn from, and they can get some Jesus when they're around. And then also doing these group events like we talked about today, that we ran yesterday, where we can all work together to hone each other in our faith journeys.
Yeah, for sure. And if we can continue to reach people, our live events so far have been local. We hope to grow them in the future, and a nationwide, maybe one day worldwide kind of thing, where we can have men of Christ get together, and we can do man skills and shooting and training events and things like that, and really just dive into the word deeper.
Yeah. Guys, connect with us online. Get in touch with us. We'd love to grow the Redeemed Legion. Like Drew said, we want this thing to get bigger because we want to tell guys about Jesus. That's what we're here for. That's what we're doing. So reach out to us, get a hold of us. And we're going to keep plugging along and doing our thing. And we hope to meet you guys soon.
Check out our other podcasts.
Yeah. This is episode 9 for those of you that just jumped in. All the podcasts, like Pete said, they're on all the platforms, all the podcast stuff. They're out there. So we've got some really cool stuff. We've talked to some good guests on all sides of every issue. And also, if you would like to be a podcast guest, hit us up. We're always looking for interesting people to talk to. Don't care where you are, what your story is. If you want to come on and talk to us, hit us up. We'd love that.
We actually had a podcast where we interviewed a guy named Ken that follows along with us that is an atheist, and we spent, I don't know how long do you guys think that one went, like an hour and a half maybe.
Something like that.
It was a long one, and
At
just picked it all apart and talked through where he's at and where we're at, and picked apart a bunch of different thoughts and evidence to find our way towards God. It was pretty awesome.
Yep. Next week, Wednesday, 8 o'clock, we've got Quint coming on the podcast. Quint's got a great story, great testimony. Man, he's a hard hitter when it comes to living a rough life and showing that God can save anybody. So tune in for that one as well.
Yeah, you guys should definitely listen to that one. He's an interesting cat, and it'll be a good podcast. So check that out. That'll be episode 10. That's coming up next week. And in the meantime, like I said, go on the socials, hit us up. We've got tons of videos out there. We're trying to do all the things. Go to redeemedlegion.com. Check out what we're doing. See if you like it.
You guys have to wrap up our discussion about our event yesterday. One takeaway, one thing that impacted you guys. We talked a lot about how we impacted everybody else. Can either of you guys think of just one thing that you got out of yesterday, like God spoke to you or altered your world at all from our event?
Yeah, I can for sure. One thing that spoke out to me very clearly was being obedient to God and not hesitating on the things that you feel like He is telling you to do. Man, like I said, we had a guy who was sharing his heart out. He's going through some tough times, some real struggles, and the world's just eating him up. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, and I'm like, how am I going to respond to this guy? What am I going to say? What words of comfort could I possibly give him that are going to make him feel like, this is all going to be okay. There's hope, all of that. And one of the older, wiser guys in the group just turned around and looked at me, and he's like, we need to pray over him. And we stopped what we were doing, and all of us got up and we prayed over this guy, man. And afterwards, I'm talking to this man that made the decision, that said we need to pray over him. And he said, yeah, God just told me, you know what you need to do, get up and do it. And he followed suit, man. He didn't worry about what all other 11 or 12 guys in the circle thought about him. He did it, and he was obedient. And man, it was for the glory of God.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just moving, like listening to what God's telling you to do and moving on it. And I think that's the thing that we all struggle with because of all the worldly influence we have around us. And a thing like last night just shows when you listen, you heed that call from God, He moves, and it's a big deal. It was a big deal to me.
Yeah. Along those same lines, didn't feel like we could get there in time, didn't feel prepared, felt very just not ready to run it, and then wondered the whole time, like, man, does anybody even get anything out of this? Like, are we really having an impact? We even kind of talked about it afterwards. We're like, we didn't have 200 people like we hoped, and I wonder if we had any impact on anybody. And then we start talking to each other, and we're like, each of us had multiple stories of guys that said something. And then I even had somebody reach out to me hours later that was like, hey, sorry I didn't say anything, but massive impact tonight in my life, and and helping him work through surrender and some other things. And like, it's pretty awesome to see that if we just put one foot in front of the other. I think Jeff, one of the guys that was there, said it last night, was just do the next thing, like take the next step, take that next faith of what God is telling you to do. And it's pretty amazing what He can accomplish if you just listen and get out of the way.
Yep. 100%. More of Him, less of us.
Yep.
Well, guys, we are the Redeemed Legion. We are out here reaching men for Christ. We're trying to do some cool stuff with it. We are available. We're out there on the internet. We're on all the social media. Hit us up. We'd love to get in touch with you guys. This is episode 9 of our podcast. Episode 10 coming next week. We will see you guys soon.
You've been listening to the Redeemed Legion podcast. It's all about faith, masculinity, and modern day life. Our passion is to encourage and equip men to live out their faith in a world that often presents conflicting ideals of manhood. Welcome to the Brotherhood. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. If you did enjoy it, make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, you can email Drew at redeemedlegion.com, Pete at redeemedlegion.com, and Brendan at redeemedlegion.com. The website at redeemedlegion.com. And find us on TikTok and YouTube at, you guessed it, Redeemed Legion. Take care, be safe, and see you next time.